Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another in my series of cancer tales. And so the last time I spoke into the camera about this was the beginning of May. Since then, I went for another infusion of immunotherapy drugs. They slightly changed it in April. So for the last two times, it's an Opdualag. So it's Opdivo-like, which is what I was on, but it combined another in the same 30-minute immunotherapy cocktail. It contained another drug. And after I'd gotten a side effect earlier with large coverage of my body with a rash that I had to take high-dose steroids for, that's gone away, and I was able to resume a maintenance dose of 10 milligrams of prednisone steroids for the month of May. And that really helped because the side effects from higher dose steroids, even though I've been on steroids for now almost 9 months, because this is the beginning of June, it's much easier to manage when it is a lower dose than it is a higher dose. And there's still some side effects, and it really makes my vision go wonky because it increases eye pressure in my one good eye and blurs my vision. So I only take it toward the evening so that I can get things done during the day. Like today, right now, when I finish recording these series of videos today, I will be taking my steroids. But the blood work came back good, and the next thing was at the 3rd of June, I was to have my next PET scan. So 3 months from my last PET scan, which was 4 months after my first PET scan. And the result of that was that the tumors grew at the same rate that they had between the 4 months. Really 75% increase rather than 100% increase between 4 months, and this was 3 months. So it's actually growing at the same rate. The PET scan also showed, and even though I felt great the whole month of May, I was able to go to Indy 500 practices. Of the 10 days the Speedway was open for cars on the track, more than an hour, I was down there 7 times, and this is more than normal. I was able to get around quite easily, really felt great, and I've continued to exercise, doing swimming at the YMCA and doing light weights on a regular basis, so trying to work out 6 days a week. If I went to the Speedway, I was doing a lot of walking instead of swimming, and taking care of my knees using basic first aid stuff. So I've started doing, following the RICE mantra, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation, and my mobility has increased despite the fact that my bones are bone on bone and my joints are bone on bone in my knee and my hip. And the pain's not really going away, but it's lessened when I do this first aid treatment. So that went really well, and really I felt great. I felt better from basically March through the end of May than I was feeling in December and January when I had side effects from Yervoy. But the PET scan came back. The readout was that growth was steady, that the immunotherapy drugs did not seem to be having an impact on the steady growth. And they also found tumors now growing in my lungs and also possibly in my bones. But that won't be an issue going forward because there is not much more going forward for me with an increasingly large portion of my liver being taken over by this melanoma that's gone from my eye into my liver that is very aggressive. And but I'm still feeling well. So that's sort of the issue, that when I went back yesterday for my scheduled infusion of immunotherapy drugs, first they did a blood test, and then I met with my oncologist, and he's a great guy. He comes in and says, wow, your blood work came back great. Normal levels on pretty much everything. And that's probably why I'm feeling well. He also said that, yes, he saw the PET scan, and it doesn't seem like the immunotherapy drugs are working, so we're stopping it. And he suggested that we try another course, which would be, and I've not started it yet, a special sort of chemo light. He said to me that the side effects are not the same as other chemo drugs, although they do have indicated side effects, but he said that the likelihood that I would experience these side effects is less with this drug. So we're going to try it. And it's just the hope that possibly it will slow down the rate of growth, because at some point in time, a larger portion of my liver will be taken over by the tumors, and liver function will decrease. And when that happens, it happens pretty quickly, and then there's a quick slide to basically my body shutting down. And I know this is coming. I've known this since really the readout of the very first biopsy on my eye. And if you remember from the earlier cancer tales, I described that I actually got to watch them take the biopsy samples because I still had vision in that eye, and I was alert. They only gave me a sedative and a nerve blocker. And I had felt like a block of wood, but I could talk to them during the surgeries, the 2 surgeries I had to take my eye out of socket, rotate it a bit, slip a radiated disc behind the back of the eye wall to radiate the tumor in my eye on the inside of my right eye. And the radiation would kill the retina, and it did. Since then, I mean, my eye would need a couple surgeries in order to have a very limited amount of vision. And it doesn't make sense to, since the metastasis in my liver, which happened pretty quickly, really before my eye was even set in its socket in the healing process. And it didn't make any sense to have surgeries that I would have to be combating with my body when my body's fighting to stay upright and around long enough with what's going on in my liver. And that takes priority. I don't know what's going to happen when I take these new chemo drugs, but we're going to try it, and I'll update you. I can't get them from the pharmacy. They have to actually mix them at the hospital and mail them to me. They are giving me a anti-nausea drug to take in combination with it, which we'll see how that works. And we'll see what it does. But I'm continuing to exercise and continuing to work out and continuing to eat healthy and trying to live each day. This is the one thing that I've really worked at trying to control, is not thinking ahead, not getting to the end, which won't be pretty, but trying to live each day, be in the moment, try and create as much interesting things and joy in my life as possible on each day, and try and stay active and carpe the diem, seize the day. So still feeling well. I'm I don't know how much longer this will last, and just trying to make it last as long as it can is the goal. And I wish you well. Be well.